What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you find yourself. Welcome to the First Press Murfreesboro YouTube channel. This is your daily meditation for Thursday, January 14, 2021. We are going to read some verses from the prophet Hosea. And before I read these words, I think I'll read this passage twice because it's just so good, and I really, really want you to catch it all. As you listen to these words from the prophet, think about them in terms, because they're describing God and God's heart toward God's people and for God's people and what God is like in terms of how God thinks about his people and all that good stuff. God doesn't change, so think about this in terms of how God thinks of you and how God thinks of us, not only as the body of Christ at First Murfreesboro, but us as Church Universal, as humans around the world. Think about that. So not just some distant text about God's people thousands of years ago, but the way that God feels towards us today, okay? That's what I want you to kind of listen for. This is Hosea 11, verses 1 through 4. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more I called them, the more they went from me. They kept sacrificing to the Baals and offering incense to idols. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with bands of love. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down to them and fed them. I think this language is so beautiful, and so obviously paternal, maternal, parental, right? God is speaking to us using language and images and metaphors and things that we understand, that make sense to us, right? Speaking as if we are a child or an infant even. So good and comforting, because there's lots happening in the world, right? But even outside of all the things that are happening in our country and around the world, we are prone to wander. We're prone to leave the God we love. We're prone to betray our better judgment. We do the things that we don't want to do, and we don't do the things that we know we should. This is the struggle of our two natures at war within us. All right, well, that's all great, fine, and good. These are words that speak comfort into our lives as individuals and as the body of Christ, telling us what God thinks of us, no matter what. No matter what. So listen to these one more time. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more I called them, the more they went from me. They kept sacrificing to Baals and offering incense to idols. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they didn't know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with bands of love. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down to them and fed them. Well, as always, I would love to hear what stands out to you in this passage, what image or what action, on the part of God stands out to you the most. Lots of it stands out to me. The fact that God calls us, invites us in, calls us and I'm especially thinking of the way a parent calls a child, but that kid just runs further the other way, we forget, who taught us to walk. My kids don't remember us helping them learn to walk, the part that we played in it. They don't remember the times that Lexi and I bandaged their wounds, gave them antibiotics when they were sick, and participated in their healing. They don't remember these things. They don't know this stuff, and yet that's true. That's true of what happened in their lives. Same with me and my parents. I don't remember being taken care of as an infant. I don't remember wandering away when I was being called, but I know that I did. And yet here is God taking us up into God's arms, leading us with ropes, it says cords and bands, with ropes of kindness and love. And this is kind of where I want to end it here. Because I think there's language both of comfort here and challenge, as usual for me. God leads his children with ropes of kindness and love. No matter what else is happening in their lives or what other choices they seem to have made, God's ropes are not ropes of judgment, deceit, anger, criticism, cynicism, anything else. None of that. God's ropes with which God uses to lead his people are kindness and love. This is quite a picture, right? Some of you know we have a family in our church who recently had a baby. He's a little bitty baby now. I got to hold him for the first time the other day, which was a treat. Lexi went and got to spend time with him, this little baby, this morning. And you know what we did? Even with our masks on, when I lifted that baby up and held him right here. It's just a natural thing to do when you're holding an infant, to hold that infant up to your cheek. And I know that Lexi, I saw a picture of it. She did it today. This image that God was like those who lift infants to their cheek. This is what God is like, y'all. This is very, very good news. And it's also a challenge for us in our lives throughout the rest of this day and tomorrow to remember that not only is this how God regards us, but this is our challenge. When we lead others and as we live our lives, that kindness and love be the cords, the bands, the ropes with which we use to lead and to govern and to help inspire how we use our energy and how we move around in the world. Kindness and love. This is the only true reflection of Christ in us. Kindness and love. I don't think anything else has a place. Does that mean we can't be angry? No. Does that mean we can't stand for what's right? No. Kindness and love, though, are to never leave the equation. Are you with me? Kindness and love. I hope some of this is making sense to y'all. Empty sanctuary. It'd be fun if you guys were sitting in here with me and we could talk about it, but we'll have to wait for that sometime soon. Grace and peace, my friends. We'll see you next time.